All right, we are at the start of our professional journey asking the most important questions first, which is what is the Solution Architect Professional? Well, just like the Associate, it is a concept based AWS certification, meaning that it's more about your conceptual architecting knowledge. But to get there, you do have to have a lot of hands on knowledge to cement that. So, again, despite that, it not asking very technically specific questions about how to implement things, you have to have that knowledge to come to the right answer. The way it is different from the associate level is we're looking at more in-depth knowledge of innovative services and more services in general, multi-count and multi-region scenarios, SLAs, RTOs, RPOs, disaster recovery, backup, cost and security analysis has to be a part of the thought process throughout when looking at your questions. And we have a heavy focus on high-level cloud architecting, okay? This certification course code is the SAP-C02. So just make sure you are utilizing the correct study course for the certification that you're taking. And the Solution Architect Professional is the most difficult cloud certification among all cloud certifications. This has to do with how verbose the questions are, about choosing the most correct answer, which a lot of the answers definitely look correct. One is going to be the most correct, and that is very, very challenging, especially when you're under a very tight time limit. Now, you get about, I think, 2.5 minutes per question, but trust me, it is not enough time. You really do have to speed run this while choosing the correct answers. Who's certification for? Well, if you are working as a cloud engineer and you're moving up to an SA role, this is a great certification that may prepare you for that. Just understand that a solution architect is a senior role, so you really should be working at least 3 years as a cloud engineer before considering yourself as an SA. Another reason is if it's a company requirement, there are consultancies out there, tech consultancies, where they want you to have the pro so that when you go meet the customer, they know that you have those credentials. They don't want that before you go apply for the job. They'll usually expect it after you've been hired. So if you're looking at the pro as a means to get other work, it doesn't really work that with AWS certifications. It's more like you have the job and now you're expected to go get those certifications, okay? In terms of our roadmap, you can go from foundational to associate. I'd probably do all the 3 associates at the same time. You can do data engineer and MLOps engineer, but that's not very much necessary in this case. The most common route is Cloud Practitioner SA to Solution Architect Professional. But again, I really strongly recommend taking those 3 associates there. AWS certifications do not validate programming, technical diagramming, code management, and many other technical skills that are required for obtaining technical roles. So just understand that is the disclaimer I always give about these certifications, that they have that specific deficit. In terms of challenge, we say beginner to experienced, but here it's experienced or it's very experienced, and you're looking at a lot of hours here. If you are really, really, really good with AWS and you know a lot of the services, then maybe you can clear this in 60 hours. I cannot give you an average study time because there's just not enough data to show that, because every single person, their way of getting to pro is completely different. So I'm not going to give you an average there. I'm just going to give you a huge range of 120 to 60 hours. One thing that is a bit different, and I normally have this 50-50, but you need a lot of time with practice exams because, again, this exam, it's not just the knowledge, but it's just how they word those questions. You need those very verbose questions. So go do my practice exams, get the paid ones, then go over to John Bonzo, do his, get as many as you can, because you're going to need a lot of practice after you do the videos. You're looking between 1 or 2 hours for 60 days. And yes, 60 days, 2 months is a reasonable time. 3 months for some, but 2 months if you're trying to move as quick as you can here. What does it take to pass exam? Obviously, watch the lecture content, do hands-on labs, even though you're not really doing things for real, as, again, it's a conceptual-based, architecting. Just doing things hands-on really helps cement knowledge, and so I strongly recommend you do hands-on. I have a lot of hands-on, like tons and tons and tons, and it's really, really going to help you out. Absolutely, absolutely do paid practice exams. You need it for this one. There's no way you're passing it without paid practice exams. I got a full free practice exam. I'm the only one that does this where it's the full one. We have a bunch of paid ones. And if you need more, I recommend John Bonzo. He's really, really good at, for his thing, okay? In terms of the content outline, we have 4 domains. Okay, we have design solutions for organizational complexity, design new solutions, continuous improvement for existing solutions, design solutions for organizational complexity. I'm going to be honest with you that there's a lot of repetition here in the domain, so it's not that useful to utilize that as a means to figure out what to study. Again, it's multi-count, multi-region, and you're just thinking about pricing, security, and you're going deeper on these services. The way we design this course is we just go through each service and go as deep as possible on it because that's the best we can do, and that's what a lot of other creators do. It's very hard to make roadmaps for these pro certifications. And one thing that we do that some other folks don't have is that we have case studies. So this is where they are business use case scenarios. Now, AWS started introducing these in, they're experimenting still, at least at this time, in some of the new associates. But we've had them for quite a while because we make Azure exams too, and we find they're really helpful. And so I jammed in a bunch of those here. I might not necessarily have videos for them, but we have a separate practice exam set specifically that are business case use scenarios to help you think about, how to solve stuff. Okay. In terms of where do you take the exam? Well, either in person or from the convenience of your home. If you can, take it in person. But if you can't, do it from the convenience of your own home. AWS only uses Pearson VUE. PSI has been dropped, and it is what it is. So, again, if you can do it in person, absolutely do that. This is proctored. Someone's watching you. So make sure that if you're doing this from home, that you don't have your kids running in, or you're not near a window, or your room's not messy, because you don't want to spend all that money and then they think you're cheating and you lose that money out, okay? In terms of grading, you're looking at 75% to pass. Now, you can still fail with a 75, so make sure you are well over that 75 in your practice exams because it uses scaled scoring. There are 65 questions. One thing that's different, I wrote this wrong here. This is 55. Let me get my pen tool out here. 55, but normally it's 65 and 15, but in this case it's 55 and 10. So there are few less unscored questions, which make it a lot harder for that reason as well. But just understand there's no penalty for wrong questions, and we're only doing multiple choice and multiple answer. And why do they do unscored questions? Well, it's because it helps them introduce new questions, determine if the exam's too easy so they can adjust it. They're there to determine if people are doing dumps, because if there's specific questions that get leaked in those unscored ones, it helps them quickly identify where those dumps are coming from. If you encounter questions you don't know, don't stress out. They might be unscored. Okay. In terms of duration, you get 3 hours. So that's about 2.5 minutes per question, more like 2.7 minutes. And that's not a lot of time. Trust me. Some of these questions, you'll feel like you're reading them for 5 minutes. So exam time, say, is 180 minutes. You have a seat time of 210. So add 30 minutes to that, which is the time to show up and review the instructions, show online proctor your workspace, read and accept the NDA, complete the exam, provide feedback at the end. If you're doing in person, go 45 minutes early. Give yourself plenty of time so that you are not stressed out. If you pass this, it's good for 3 years. I don't know if AWS allows you to do a refresh for this for free online. They've been doing that a lot with their other certifications. But understand that this certification is hard. It's very hard to make a study path for it. And the other part is that if you fail the first time, people that are experts fail this thing all the time, not because they don't know what they're doing, but the wording of the questions are extremely challenging and the time limit is extremely challenging. For someone like me that's dyslexic, it's hard. It's hard to condense those questions. So just understand that, you're doing this if your work wants you to do it or it's a personal challenge for you. I personally would just not do it. If you know how to do the work, that should be good enough. But this thing is extremely painful. Not like the developer, the DevOps professional. That one is very fair certification. This one is brutal. So just understand what you're getting into, okay? Ciao.